In the darkest nights, we find our light. Battered souls, but we won't lose sight. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, we stand tall. United forever. Strength and courage will overcome. Surviving together, victorious. Never, never alone. Hand in hand, we'll face the unknown.
We see you, we hear you, and we believe you. Hello, everyone. How you doing today? It is Saturday here at Surviving Together. Welcome, SAS community. I'm so glad you guys are here today. We are going to be taking a brief look, and I say brief when I mean kind of overview look today at ADHD and your brain, but more specifically, tips and tools to help you without medication learn to work with your brain instead of against it. And the reason I say this is going to be kind of an overview is I am very new to the ADHD space. And while I'm kind of convinced that I do have adult ADHD, like from adult trauma, I'm so new at it. I'm not used to dealing with it. I really want to get somebody on here who's been dealing with it a lot longer to help talk about some of these things and about how to do it better than I'm able to explain it. Okay. And I don't know when that's going to happen. So I'm going to do the best that I can today for you guys, and then we'll see what happens from there. I think I would rather not have my chin cut off, so we're gonna try and scoot this down just a little bit lower. There we go. That looks good. Okay. Alrighty. Who do we have here? Wow, you guys been chatting up a storm. Why you gone? Mark, you're going to go sit with ice cream, and so you can't join us. That's not fair. I want ice cream. Specifically, I want your ice cream because I want to see what it tastes like over there. That'd be really great. Janet, so glad you're here. Crystal, awesome that you've joined us today. Deaudrey, wonderful that you are here. I hope you're feeling well. You're going to be in and out because of supper? No problem. Crystal, you guys have a goose festival. Wow. That is pretty cool. Because you are on a migration route. Wow. That's pretty neat. Jana, are you jealous, or are you just jealous for Andrew? Tell us right. Let's see. You guys are just yapping up a storm. I think ice cream does unite the nations. I think you're right, Deaudrey. Not only because it's such a yummy treat, but everybody's take on it is just a ooch different in consistency and what they like to put in it, things of that nature. I remember being on Cayman Brack for, it was Christmas one year. And this was before Christmas. So one of the wealthiest people on the island, and he wasn't there full time, but he brought in fireworks and the local vendors to his place and just had everybody, everything was free. Everybody in the island could come. They had the person who made ice cream there was there and was making stuff. And oh my gosh. And it was so good. But some of the people on the island had actually never even had the ice cream. And I was shocked. And just to see all these little kids running around with ice cream, and some of them, it was the first time having it. For most, all of them, it was their first time ever seeing fireworks in real life. They were just, I mean, the oohs and ahs you think we get, oh my gosh, oohs, ahs, and screams. Because when they first started, people didn't know what it was. And some people there, unfortunately, had been to war before. And all they did is hear the whoosh, and they just, I mean, there were people hitting the deck. I mean, literally, I watched one guy he just flew down onto his belly. And I was laughing, not at him, but just at the absurdity of the kind of whole situation of going, this is just so surreal. But that was Steve's place. And he was an interesting duck. A naturalist for sure. Awesome. He had he made a swimming pool, but what he did is he carved it right out of the coral bedrock. And then they drilled a tunnel from there out towards the sea until they hit water, basically. And so the pool just fills with seawater and fish, and and so it rises and lowers with the tide. It's really cool. I gotta admit, like just swimming around a swimming pool with all the fish that you would be, out in the sea with, and it was really pretty. It was really pretty cool. Hi, Shannon. How you doing? Just thinking about you earlier today. I sent you a message. I hope you got it. Let's see, who else do we have here? Janet told everyone you're working. Oh, you're on the way to the airport. Oh, okay. Well, you can just join us on replay then. That's okay. No worries there. Just so that you guys know, also, my friend David, who I've spoken about, he had a soft launch of his website this week. So we're really excited. And it's real basic right now, just a few designs out on it, but it was just enough to get it out. And the hard launch goes October 1. So I'm really, really excited for him. He's been working hard. You didn't get it. I sent you, it would have been a text, Shannon. So you can just look at whatever last text I sent you. Journaling. Who's journaling? Who's supposed to be doing the journaling? Who said they were going to journal for a week? I know it wasn't me. And yes, guys, I am behind on my journal. I will 100% fully admit that. And I'll own every single piece of it. So apologize. But I'm doing okay today. So we think I'm going to stick on the current doses that I'm doing with my medication for probably at least another week, maybe 2 before I cut down again. And I may try and cut down just a quarter instead of cutting this amount that I've got going in half. I don't know. We'll see. This is the best I've felt actually in a while, in a week or 2. I mean, just, I don't know. Maybe it's because I got up and I was just kind of motoring around this morning and doing some things and was trying to get some things done. I was trying to let you slide under the radar, Shannon. Crystal called you out. um, you didn't get to it yesterday. That's okay. Pick it up again today, whenever you get a chance. It's all right. How has it been going in general, though? Not just fitting in the writing, but how have you been feeling about the writing? That's what I'm interested in. And that's what I'd like to talk to you about. And you can either talk to it about here, or, we can, speak to it sometime one-on-one if you want. Where are you off to, Shannon? What city are you going to now? I'm very curious about that. Anything else before we get into today's stuff? You figured out some things. Good. Off to Denver. All right. Never been, but I hear it's a really nice city. Shannon, I'm thrilled for you. I really, really, truly am thrilled for you. I am so glad that it's working out for you. I'm encouraging one of my friends to start journaling, mainly because of ADHD, to try and focus some of the thoughts, maybe so they're not so scattered, or times when it is so scattered, to be able to just get it out, no matter how much it doesn't make sense, to see if maybe that can kind of, help when just going in 14 different directions. Have you ever found yourself, you're going in 14 different directions, you got 16 things to do, you take 2 steps in one direction and decide, nope, I got to do something in this direction, and you end up in just pivoting and going full circle, and because you're like not sure which way to go first? That was me today. I had so many things that I wanted to get done. I've got laundry in the works. I managed to pick up, help my son last night with the garage. We've got that looking great. And the dishes are almost all done. I think there's 2 dishes in there, and one, because I can't get the cup open. I'm trying. It may just get thrown out. Sorry, Karen. Yeah, but I mean, it's like, anything else? It's hot here today. Shannon, I want to ask you, it's got to be in Godly there, but let's see. Deaudrey, any journaling is good. It doesn't matter how superficial it is. You could write your grocery list for all it matters. In the beginning, if it's nothing more than that, just getting you into the habit of doing it. My biggest problem with journaling, for me personally, is that when I write, I tend to write like about whatever's on my brain, and usually it'll be something that's happened within the last couple days. And then I will just basically start writing everything that's happened. So it'll end up being 4 pages of here's what my life was of the last 24 hours. And not everything like that needs to get written down. I mean, it's kind of fun, but it takes forever because I write full sentences and everything. So now I really need to work on journaling for issues. Like, okay, so this issue is bothering me. Well, where else does that lead? And learning to journal in a little bit different of a way. Because I always thought it was, you journal, you just start writing. But this is purposeful journaling, if that makes sense. For me, that's what I use it for. Some people, they need it just to be able to dump thoughts. They need it to be able to just kind of get all that excess brain energy out. And there aren't necessarily things or issues or problems that they're trying to work through. And maybe they'll use it to store ideas and things of that nature. And if they do have an issue, then they can look back and see, has this been an issue all along or whatnot? And it just depends, on what your purpose is, for doing it. Shannon says she did a timeline journal. Perfect. Yes, Deaudrey. Thanks, Janet, because I was going to mention that. Janet, you want to throw up a link to your channel? Janet did on her channel, Carry On, did a live stream on journaling and just went over a lot of basics. And, you know, really good person to talk to, really great writer. I can attest to that. You certainly can, Janet. What you do is just open another tab, go to your page, copy that, and then paste it into the comment box. I do it, but I'm busy. I've been told that I'm a little bitch today. Not in a bad way. I'm just being snarky. And I am. I'm kind of being a little snarky. But I had to get into it early. I walked down. I went to go do the laundry this morning, and I walked downstairs, and I looked over at the bed. There's my son, because I can see my son's door was open, so I can see right into his room from the laundry room. And so I saw my son, and then I see his girlfriend laying next to him, and Sammy pokes her head up, and she's like, hi. And I'm like, hi, how are you? And she's just like, Fig's over there, Dorian's over there. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Guess a lot of people in my house last night. Thankfully, they'd gone to a birthday party, and I was happy to take everybody in, making sure everybody got home safe. So that was awesome. Journaling, passwords, brainstorming, writer's block, and more. Yes. Janet went over all of it. So if you guys, if you guys need different help with journaling, hit Janet up. I do not know what a bullet journal is, so I'm going to leave that to Crystal to describe, because I honestly don't know. You did a pain journal. Did you do that for your doctor? Because I know at one point my doctor was asking me to do like a pain journal, like write down my symptoms, and, because we were trying to figure out this, that, the other. The best way to see it is to Google it. All right. Give me a sec. Oh, do you mean making bullet points? Instead of writing in full sentences? I'm looking at all these pictures of bullet journals. And they're all over the place. So I could show you images, but I still don't quite understand. Okay, so here's a definition. It says bullet journals can be used to keep track of tasks, schedule appointments and meetings, manage projects, take notes, track how your time is being spent, etc. It basically looks like you're just creating a daily planner. So some use them to track goals. So journaling helps organize your thoughts, and that's why it can be, helpful for people with ADHD, particularly if there's a project that you're trying to deal with and you're not sure how to to start because you just got all these thoughts. And, I've been finding ChatGPT has a free version of itself. And I've been using it to jumpstart my research because it will kind of put together things. I can ask it questions, I can put it thoughts, I can give it directions, and it will put those together in kind of whatever way I'm looking for. And it's really helpful. You can also put in like all your to-dos and say, prioritize this for me. And it will prioritize what's most important based on whatever you've told it. I still have a lot of nervousness around AI, but I'm trying to use it where I can to streamline things for me, to make my life more efficient and more effective. And that's one area that I've found it's been pretty helpful. Let's see. Okay. I was on another page, so I was staring at you guys, kind of. Formatted as bullets. Oh, Deidre, that's good. I mean, I'm glad you did that then. I'm glad you did your pain journal, because if that's what led to you getting the help that you needed, seeking the help out, then it was all worth it. Even if it hurt to look at those sentences and to look at that information and go, I think maybe I got to do something about this. I got to do something different. Bye, Shannon. Be safe. Mwah. Hugs and love. Yeah, I have trouble finding Janet's channel sometimes too. But it is, let me see if I can find. Hang on, guys. Okay, let's see. We're going to go search at, well, I would, but it's not going. Okay, let's search at Carrie. Is it underscore on? No. Okie dokie. Janet, can you just write your channel name as it appears? The at. And is it just at Carry On, one word? Was it at Carry On underscore? I thought we had that off. I thought we needed to add something else to that. If anybody else knows. Ooh, wait. Hang on, guys. My subscriptions might have it. But I'm not sure which channel I subscribed with, so we have to find this. I think it is under my other account. Hang on, we're switching over. Oh, looky there, I'm live. Okay. Sorry, YouTube is being a little challenging right now, mainly because I'm already streaming to it. So it doesn't like the fact that I'm also trying to look on it as well. And for some reason, it is not just listing my channels, but it's just giving me like page after page after page of thumbnails. But I mean, multiple repeats for the same ones, which is really bizarre. I'm not sure why it's not giving me them in any other form. Oh, here we go. Carry on dash Janet. That's it. Okay, there you guys go. That is what I just posted here is Janet's YouTube. So it's at carry on hyphen Janet. I knew we had more to the carry on, and I couldn't remember what it was. Okay, there we go. Okay, Janet, so I got your channel up here so that anybody can either email you or check out your channel and look at it and see. You're welcome. All right. So let's go through this a little bit. I'm just going to say this here so I don't have to do something separate. Janet, will you just get with me at some point? Because I do want to use that thumbnail that I sent you for this live. I'll just post it sometime afterwards. I just need for you to be able to download it and then like send it back to me or something like that. But I'll talk to you about it, I'm sure. Alrighty. So what I had, I'm sorry guys, I got to keep going back between a couple of different screens that I've got here. I've got my research here down below. All right. So what are some of the top, let's say top 10 ways of dealing with ADHD without medication? And the best ways to deal with it in order to turn your ADHD brain into your superpower, right? I mean, think about how creative an ADHD brain can be. The hyper-focusedness. When you find something you love and you want to dive into it and you're just so focused on one thing. And I found this with mine for inattentive ADHD, it's often hyper-focused on something that's unnecessary. So it's not necessarily something that you're like into as a hobby. For mine, it was game playing for a while, and then it was reading, and I was stuck into reading these stupid made up stories. That's also known as fiction. No, it was some fan fiction that I got sucked into reading for a while. And then I got reading all my old books. And I mean, it was like nothing critical, nothing that was like a hobby that I was new into or that I was diving into or anything. It was distraction is what it was. It was distraction to not do the things that I should be doing. So if you can use that hyper-focusedness to help you really hone in on some of the things that you do need to do. So the times when your brain is starting to get focused, if you can find a way to deal focus on those. You know what? This just made absolutely no sense. All the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. Hang on. I told you it's harder for me to talk about this because it's not something I innately know. This is so new to me. If any of you have been dealing with ADHD your entire life and also want to talk about this, please, I'll more than gladly share my screen with you. But let's go over what I did find out. For this requires me moving around. Sorry, guys, I got to get comfortable. It's a little hot in my office today, so that is why I am in a tank top. Because it's hot here today. I had the windows open for a little while, and because I still don't have my HVAC fixed. So reading is a good thing. I love to read. Believe me, I absolutely love to read. The problem was I was reading for hours and hours and hours on end and not doing things that I should be doing, like the dishes. I mean, I was reading so much that I wasn't doing the things I should be doing, it was in my barely existing time. So I would use it to do anything but what I was supposed to be doing, right? It was hard sometimes to even focus on work. And that's really difficult when, you've got an entire library in your hand. So, yeah, tough. I'll tell you, and it's one thing I won't go into a whole heck of a lot, but cognitive behavioral therapy, one thing that they recommend for people with ADHD. How well it works, I have no clue, honestly. I don't know how well, if it helps in generally. I suppose it could be the same as having, a life skills coach with you, somebody to help teach you all these things, to help teach you these ways of dealing with your brain and being able to deal with the good and the bad that comes with it, and being able to talk about your feelings as things are going, and dealing with your highs and your lows and stuff. So like any therapy, it's helpful. To whether or not it's specifically more helpful to ADHD than other things are, I don't know. This is great that you mentioned this, Crystal, because it's one of the things that I was going to bring up. Crystal says, if I'm squirreling and need to focus, I set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes so that I can stay more focused. It also helps because you know that you only have a shorter amount of time that you have to focus on this thing before you can move on to something else. And that was one of the things that they mentioned in my research, was about the use of timers and helping not only for focusing on the things that you have to, but say you're going to focus on something that you're doing for pleasure, and instead of getting sucked into it for hours and hours and hours, or however long it takes you for your interest to peter out with that, but setting the timer says, okay, and I've been trying to do this just with my regular life, says, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to relax for 30 minutes. And then I have to get up and do the dishes. And then if I want to sit down and relax for the rest of the evening, I can do that. But I've got done what I needed to get done. So I've been trying to do that. It's working somewhat. I'm still finding, different coping mechanisms. And like I said, some days are better than others. Some days I feel like today, I felt totally capable of taking on everything that I needed to take on. I felt, I didn't look at the dishes and go, oh my God. Other than my Tupperware, which I have a love-hate relationship with containers, because it doesn't seem to matter what kind I get, how interlocking they are or their tops are, they're a freaking mess. It's just plain and simple. It is just a freaking mess and the bane of my existence. Janice says that her daughter's therapist talked to them a lot about the neurodivergent brain. Which I can see just learning about it, can be extremely helpful. And I encourage anybody who gets diagnosed with any sort of condition to do your own research. For me personally, it's not that I distrust the diagnosis, but I want to make sure, A, that I fit into it, and B, that I understand. You're only spending a certain amount of time with your therapist, right? Every week, generally, an hour. And there's so much information out there that I really think it's important that when you've been diagnosed with something, that you educate yourself on what it is, how you deal with it, and it kind of gives you a leg up. And it gives you things at home then that you can be using as well. Audrey, that's a great way of going through things. You get through marking hundreds of student essays by rewarding yourself with a book a chapter of your book after marking 10 papers. That is wonderful. Fabulous way to deal with it. Perfect. So therapy, having life coaches who specialize in dealing with ADHD, neurodivergence, coping mechanisms, life skills, those sorts of things, that can help as well. Organizational strategies. I think for all of us who, whether it's CPTSD, PTSD, I want to add more letters to that, ADHD, any of our alphabet, diagnoses, right? And I think anybody in general can benefit from the use of a planner, just flat out. Even somebody who's as in a blue collar job like my son, who really what he's doing is working on his motorcycle and going to his job and has his girlfriend. I really still think there's benefit to him keeping a planner, because I have to make a list of things that he should be doing around the house. Well, these are lists then that can be gone into his planner, and that he can say, okay, Mom said to get it done by here. Mom said to get this done by here. And that way he's starting to learn the use of the planner for himself and to keep important information, in there. It was much more in the 80s and 90s. Franklin Planner was a huge, huge name, and everybody was carrying around. And I think most people in business do today, because there's just so much to remember. But not a lot of people do paper ones anymore, and I still find that I do better with paper planners. I have something on my phone, but I'm just old school that way. Just like I like having an actual book in my hand versus a tablet or my phone. There's just something about turning that page. It's such a reward to get to the end of it, for me. So planners, checklists, to-do lists, anything that can help keep you on track with your tasks, and so that you don't get flustered by all these other thoughts that are going through your head, and then these other things that come up and say, oh, I need to do this too, and I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I need to do this, and all of a sudden you're like making plans in order to do it. Well, if you can grab your planner at that point in time and say, all right, these are the 5 things that just popped into my brain that I need to do, or that I want to address, then they're there, and hopefully can allow you to refocus your brain onto what you were doing. Also, decluttering your space. And again, I think none of this stuff that we're going to talk about is going to come as a big surprise to any of you, because it's stuff that we talk about with trauma all the time. Ways, just coping strategies and methods to be able to make the most of our lives and get the best out of our day, right? So nothing is going to be, super surprising with this, I don't think. Forgetting which things I have hooked up where. So time management techniques. You guys have already been talking about it. Crystal, if you didn't know, what you have been doing actually has an official name. It's called the Pomodoro technique. And that's for working in, short bursts. And by short, pretty much anything half hour or under for whatever tasks you're doing. And then also, as we spoke about, prioritizing, making sure what's due when, how much do I have to do on that? And that is really where I found the AI helped, because they have a talking, a microphone you can just hit, and as long as it can hear you, and its ability to pick up your speech and to type it accurately is pretty good, I've found. And I can talk to it and I can say, listen, I've got this and this and this and this. Here's all their due dates. Here's how much I have to do on it. Here's how much time I think I might need to do it. Or I'll say, I don't know how much time it's going to take. What do you suggest? And it can just help bring a focus to what you need to do. And sometimes I'm like, I need to do A, B, and C, but I'm not really even sure where to start for A. And it will give you a step-by-step instructions. Here's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. I mean, it can break it down into, then you can say, can you break those steps down further? And it'll break those 10 steps down into 50 steps, if that's what you need. So it can be very, very helpful in simplifying tasks, simplifying your to-do list. For me, when I see it in that sort of structure, and then I don't see everything on my to-do list for today, that reduces my stress level. Because otherwise, what I end up with is, I don't have one here convenient, but I'll end up with my to-do list being this long, right? And then I just keep adding to it. And then I've crossed things out as I've done them. And then I just have to rewrite that list. And so I rewrite it, but I've only crossed 3 things out, but I've added 40, right? And the list just seems never ending. And I will get very overwhelmed very easily. And, I'm still working on not shutting down when I get overwhelmed, but it's still something I struggle with. And so having something else take that pressure off and making some of those decisions for me and putting it in different structures and saying, well, maybe you need to work on this today and that tomorrow. And obviously you can change it around, do whatever you want with it. But the AI has been definitely helpful in that aspect. Georgia, you love decluttering. That's wonderful. If you ever get an itch to fly to America, you're more than welcome to my house and to work in my office. I have got paperwork galore for you. Anybody who wants to help. Your mom is the queen of decluttering, Janet. Having 6 kids cured her of clutter. I bet after you finally get that last kid out who's like not coming home, and you've purged your place and you're like, yes, It's all mine. There's not kids coming. But that's when the grandkids come back around, right? And they can start messing it all up again. But I have a feeling your mom's pretty on it. And that everything's put back in its place by the time everybody leaves. Just kind of got a sneaking suspicion with that. Look who's here, everybody. Look who's here. Hang on, guys. Okay, come here. Come here. Okay. Hello. Oh, hello. Ah, this is Charlie. Charlie just got back from camping. How you doing, Bubba? How you doing? You say hello to everybody? Say hello to other subs? Say hello? Okay, go. Hi, David. I think he already went downstairs. Okay, so David just got home from camping. And Charlie can't figure out how to open the door. Oh, not my problem. Don't worry about that. Charlie looked like he got a tan. I bet he did spend some time at the beach. I got to open the door for him. Hang on, guys. Okay, let's see. Crystal, I have heard people do this. I tried it and I didn't find the sense of satisfaction that I thought I might from it. Some people write their to-do list at the end of the day of all the things that they've done and then cross them all off. So you can say, woohoo, look at what I've done. And look how many, and I've crossed them all off the list. And yay. For me, I was always like, yay. It kind of rang a little hollow. But certainly for some people, it's very, very effective. Just seeing that you've done 5 things that day and that you've crossed them off. It can be hugely impactful. Maybe I'm a little jaded when it comes to my to-do list because I've been doing them all my life. You should see my father's to-do list. They're just, we asked at dinner Thursday night if there was anything we could help with. And he's like, yeah, I got 17 pages worth of stuff to help on, but you kids have your own lives. And this is the problem. My mom's not doing the tasks. It's only my dad. And my dad is stuck on, you kids have your own lives, so I won't ask. I'm like, dude, you're 80. Will you ask already, please? I'm just like, you've got me, you've got, Kiernan. I will round up some of Kiernan's friends if you need it. If it's extra muscle and manpower that you need, we'll get this stuff done. But, yeah, we got our own lives, but that doesn't mean to the exclusion of you, to the exclusion of not, to helping out here and helping to take care of you guys. I mean, they're at that age, they're 74 and 80. They're at that point where we're going to have to help out more and more. And I said something to my brother, because my dad said that he goes, well, I got all those weeds out front. They all got to be pulled because I got a truckload of bulbs coming in that are going to need to be planted. So I looked at my brother because he lives across town. And I said, so when can you help? And kind of muttering under his breath a little bit was just like, tell me when you need me to be here. He was not very excited that I volunteered him. But I'm like, dude, just because I live close, it can't always be me and Kiernan coming over and helping. You have a job. You have no wife. You have no kids. You have your friends who you see on your certain days. You have a lot of spare time, much more so than Kiernan or I. You work halfway in between my parents and your place. So you can come this way and do some things in the evening, I don't know. He's almost on that, I got to be home before it gets dark plan. I'm like, dude, you're not even 55 yet. Your dad refuses to ask grandsons for help and ended up having hip replacement surgery. Oh, that's wonderful. So yeah, my mom's already done that. I think that's why she's just on the couch reading. She's like, nope, I'm out. Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't want anything to happen to him. I mean, thank God he stopped getting on the roof. But I think he was 70 or something before we finally convinced him, could you not? You're getting a little frailer because of some issues that he's had. And we're just like, my brother is more than perfectly willing and capable of going up on the roof. And now my son certainly is. Let's see. Yes, on the roof. I know. It's scary. And that's where Dad was, on the roof, Crystal says. Yep. I don't know what it is, but let's just do the most dangerous stuff we can ourselves and deny that we're getting older. At plus 80. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, well, guys, we're halfway through some of our ADHD techniques, so let's talk about some more of them. Mindfulness and relaxation techniques. These are things we talk about all the time in terms of kicking in our parasympathetic nervous system, right? Calming ourselves down, ratcheting down that anxiety, trying to lift up that depression so that we're not constantly thinking negative thoughts. We're not replaying that negative movie in our head. So mindfulness meditation or any of the breathing exercises that we've talked about, there's so many different ways of breath practices. I won't even pretend to go. That's a whole episode in and of itself. And I do have one person who I might be able to con into coming on to talk more about it. Definitely knows a lot more about it than I do. But there's so many. And, I do want for that to be something that we talk about at one point in time. And I am actually going to make sure that I get it written down, because otherwise I will forget. Topic ideas, here we go. Sorry guys, gotta put it right in the place or it'll end up on a scrap of paper someplace that I won't know where it went. Okay, we got that listed. That's how your dad fell off the roof 4 stories. That's how he got his traumatic brain injury. Oh my gosh. Your husband's not allowed to get on the roof ever. Oh. Is that difficult for him? Was that difficult for him to accept that he was never getting on the roof, Janet? I mean, I know some people who would be like, oh, cool, somebody else gets to go. Other people are like, no, I can do it. Yeah, my dad, he hasn't fallen off the roof. He has fallen off the ladder, though, and hurt his wrist and his ankle or something like that. So it's not the best place to be. What else do we have here? What else can help with your ADHD? Physical activity. Get that exercise going. It helps calm the brain. It's just science. It's proven. But also, movement breaks. So if you're going to set that timer for a little bit, if you're going right into doing something else that's not like 100% pleasurable, where you're just like curling up with that book type of thing or whatever, take a short walk, 5 minutes. Walk up and down the stairs, walk around your place, whatever it is, but just get some movement going. And I know that I have to do this. How do I know that I have to do this? Beyond, I just know that my sciatica's been bothering me because my tailbone is hurting again. Guys, when I sit too long, seriously, my tailbone I think it's permanently bruised. And yes, I have something I sit on too. I have a cushion. So believe it or not, I bruised it even with the cushion, and it hurts. It wasn't difficult for him to give up going on the roof, and even if it was, you don't care. I love that, Janet. Oh, yeah, he had to sell the motorcycle. I'm SOL on that, but I will say my son's fairings came in, which is the plastic sides, all the plastic pieces for the motorcycle, because he's got a crotch rocket, one of the, not a Harley, not a sit back. It looks banging. It really does. One of these days I should put some of my phone pictures on my computer so I can actually show you guys. It's pretty sweet, I have to say. And it's black and it's red, but all the red is actually reflective at night. And actually any of the paints that they do, no matter what they paint it or what color it is, it's actually reflective. So even the black part is reflective to a degree as well. Really weird. I still think it looks too dark for him driving at night, but my motorcycle friends say, no, he's fine. I said, all right, that's just what I got to believe then. I'll stick with that. Guess what's next on the list, guys? Eating and sleeping. Would you imagine that having good nutrition, good hydration, and good sleep is going to help your brain work? Yes. The more tired you are, the more scattered you're going to be, the more irritable you're going to be, because we've discussed bad moods and not getting enough sleep. Your brain really needs that sleep to calm down from the day, clear out everything that's happened, file memories away properly, put stuff in its place, figure out things maybe that were still kind of bugging you. Have you ever woken up in the morning and gone, oh, that's what I need to do, or that's what I was trying to remember, or whatever this is? Your brain's working so hard at night. Just because we're asleep, that subconscious part of our brain is still going. Our brain operates 24/7, whether we want it to or not. So giving it good rest is critical. And I know I have a friend right now who is really struggling with this. And I know a lot of people with ADHD who do struggle with sleep. And I think in large part due to shutting the brain down. And we've talked about trauma and sleep. We've talked about, ways to get better sleep. And if you don't want to go medication route, then, doing nighttime yoga, doing something that's not too strenuous, but that is using your body, using body movement, something that can tire you out a little bit can help. For some people, reading is a wonderful way to calm their brain down before they can sleep. I've encouraged so many people to start journaling before they sleep, even if it makes absolutely no sense. Just whatever is in your head, just bleh. Again, it doesn't have to be full sentences, just bleh, 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 to try and get some of that information from here somewhere else. And just that act of doing it, that physical, literally dumping everything that's in your head onto paper, that it'll stay there and not take up a track again in your brain, and to allow you to sleep at that point. Some people find that it works really well. Others have struggled with it. And I had a friend who said, it didn't do anything for me until I hit like the 2-week mark. And then all of a sudden it just seemed to be, it's like I got everything out of my brain and I was ready to go to bed. And this person still has other things that they do, for calming down, calm music that they listen to help go to sleep. Whether it's the hertz, different sounds at different hertz vibrations, or the rain or thunder or something like that. Guided meditation to help go to sleep. I mean, all of these different techniques that we've talked about are all things that work, for ADHD, because all you're trying to do is get your brain to calm down, right? Get it to stop long enough so that you can fall asleep and hopefully have less on your mind, less actively on your mind, so that you're able to get into deeper sleep, so that you're able to get into REM sleep. I don't know how my sleep quality is. And the only thing I've had to check is like phone and apps with that, but that basically just checks on how much you move. And so I don't know really how much that checks how you're getting into REM. You know what I mean? So, because I haven't done any studies on it, I haven't done any research on this. So I don't know. Is it the case that you're totally still when you go into REM versus when you're not in REM? Do you tend to move around just a little bit? And that's not move around like, you're flip flopping all over the bed or anything, but just, moving your arms or moving your legs or something a little bit. I don't know. So I'm just, I'm a little nervous about the accuracy of those. My mom just had a sleep study done, actually, and she's supposed to get the results back, I think, at the beginning of the week. Really be able to figure that out, find out what's happening with her. Still trying to. Audrey, this sounds very familiar. Say, I can only get to sleep easily if I can distract my brain and fall asleep accidentally while I'm doing something else. And, maybe you'll find that this journaling helps. I don't know what times that you're journaling now, but if you're not journaling before bed, maybe try an info dump on your brain and just whatever happens to be going through it at that time, and see if that helps. I don't know, maybe you already have, but that's my best suggestion for that. Or to try, I don't know if you do any type of yoga. You're going to try before bed? Yeah, I think maybe what's the worst? You've just done some journaling, right? Maybe you'll fall asleep while you're writing. But I feel that there's real value in that for anybody who has a hard time getting their brain to shut off. Just, it's anecdotal, but it's just, I know so many people who it does help. Also, and I'm just starting to do this. I'm starting to do some exercise before bed, but nothing too strenuous. You don't want to do a full workout or anything like that, but just some light stretching. And I want to do the nighttime yoga. I know there's a word for it and I've forgotten it, but I want to try that and see. It's less strenuous than doing a regular yoga workout, is my understanding, because you're not trying to, the poses that they have you do, you're not trying to hold it. Either you're not trying to hold it as for long, or they're not as strenuous. So, you're not stressing your body to the point where you're waking yourself up, versus trying to put yourself to bed. And again, with sleep, we've talked about, your sleeping environment, having that decluttered, having that be a space that you don't do other things in during the day, at night. You're not reading in bed. Choose someplace else to read and then go to bed, making your bedroom literally the place where you sleep, the place where you come to calm down. If you need to, whatever you need to do to make your bedroom the most comfiest place you can think of. If that's buying yourself a new pillow or a softer blanket or whatever it is, you just want your bedroom to be that place that's just sleep heaven, right? So whatever you can do to do that. Eating, I'm not going to go over this really. It's, we all know the importance of eating healthy, drinking enough water, limiting our sugary foods and our sugary drinks. This should be new to nobody. It's just good for our bodies in general. It's really good for our trauma brains, and it's, it's good for everybody. So what can you say about that? Networks, connection, social support, another really important thing for people, not only with ADHD, but with trauma issues, right? And this is why you find so much connection between ADHD and trauma. When we're going over these, you're seeing how similar our coping skills are. And it does not make me surprised the amount of crossover that there was between ADHD and trauma. I'm not surprised at all. And can severe trauma induce ADHD, or the trauma symptoms? There are trauma symptoms that are also symptoms that are of ADHD. So you don't actually have ADHD, but you just have trauma symptoms or labeling it. However, the psychiatry wants to think about it right now. All we know is that there seems to be a link somehow. And it's important that we recognize, I think, for trauma survivors, if you have new symptoms, that you definitely bring this up with whoever your therapist is, or with your social network, to figure out, is this a new symptom? Is this something that is a symptom that's not as bad as something else? It's replaced it. It's because something else has gotten better that I now only have this particular piece of it, or this particular symptom, or whatever. Plus, those on the outside, they can tell you if they notice things about you. Like, it was David who told me I had ADHD. I would never have thought to look into any sort of link between trauma and ADHD, or that I even had ADHD, if he had not mentioned it to me. And I know that some of my non-ADHD friends, they wouldn't have even thought to mention it to me, because it was the fact that I was mimicking things he does that got him to say, no, you do. You're acting just like it. How can you not? Aches. Pain sucks. Pain absolutely sucks. I think that's going to be the name for the episode I do on trauma and chronic pain. Pain sucks. That's what the thumbnail's going to say. Because I don't think there's anything else you can say about it. Pain sucks, period. Exclamation point. Exclamation point. I'm glad your pain's better controlled now, Deaudrey. I know just the other night, I had not been to the chiropractor in about 3 weeks. And it was just because of so much that had been going on. And I noticed my sciatica was acting up, and it was acting up, and it was acting up so bad the other night. I was stretching and stretching and stretching and making sure I was laying on the right side. And it's very hard to fall asleep when you cannot get comfortable. It's very difficult. And generally I've fallen asleep in spite of myself. So I completely understand. Exactly, Crystal. Exactly. Whoops, that's not the one I noticed. Janet, you snuck a comment in on me. I was going for the last one. Crystal says sometimes it's a good thing to have others around so they can see what you're like. Because it's a friend, if it's made, because of a friend that it made me talk to my doctor about different things. Exactly. because sometimes it's not even that your family doesn't want to point things out to you. They just may not know that it's out of the ordinary or different or whatever, because they see you all the time. If it's people who live with you. So seeing somebody who you're not seeing all the time and or talking to all the time and having them go, it gives you a different perspective on yourself, right? And sometimes when we can step out of ourselves then and look at that, incredibly, incredibly easier. Oh, not hot. Yes, yes. Sleeping temperature, huge. It should be cooler. It should be cooler in your room than you really want it to be when you first go to bed, because your body temperature will drop as you go throughout the night, and your body and your brain sleep better in a cooler environment. Science, that I do know. So I don't know how things are going to be tonight because it's like so warm today. But I left my window open quite a long time this morning because it was so cool when I got up this morning. I should have known. I should have closed it immediately to keep the coolness in, because, oh my God, it was so hot in there. But hopefully we'll be able to push some of that out. And once the sun goes down, we'll cool off fairly quickly. That is what I'm hoping. Let's see, what else do we have? So the other things that were mentioned, trying to keep your stress down, because I think as we know, the less stress we're under, the less that we're activating our sympathetic nervous system. We're able to stay calmer, and that is definitely going to help a scattered brain. Sleeping, a cool environment with many blankets on top of you. Yes. Sometimes, weighted blankets, that can be a solution for some people who don't feel comfortable when they're sleeping or wake up too much. Sometimes that weight is just like that added extra little hug, and some people really find comfort in that. For me, I cannot have heavy blankets. I feel suffocated, and I think that's because of my trauma and not being able to breathe with that first trauma. Anything that weighs on me, I have a real hard time with. So that's why I have down comforters, because they're super duper light. I have a flannel and Sherpa blanket that I have actually has taken the place of down during the winter. I had it on all last winter. I didn't even break out my down comforter because it's so flippin' warm. It was all I needed. Down is the bomb. As soon as I could afford it when I got older, that was the first thing I did, was got a down comforter, and I have never looked back. I'm just so much happier with them. Oh, Crystal, I'm so glad you're getting to see your specialist. That's awesome. Sorry, guys, I'm just looking through my things again. Limit multitasking. That was the other thing that I did want to actually affirmatively mention. Sometimes, we're talking on the phone, you're dealing with your computer, you're trying to write notes. For somebody with an ADHD brain, that can be just a bit much. So taking your tasks singly and trying to do them one at a time can work much better than trying to be involved with one thing while trying to do another and thinking about another thing in the past. And that's what gets your brain started swirling more. And the more it starts swirling, the less you're going to be able to focus on any one of those things. And soon you can just end up in a tizzy, or swirling, as Crystal calls it. The last thing is workplace accommodations. And I mention this because I do not know about other countries. I'd imagine in Canada, but I won't swear to it. In the US, ADHD is considered a disability under the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act. So is depression, actually. And because of that, if you ask for accommodations based on your ADHD, they cannot refuse you. They have to make accommodations. And I know a lot of people are really scared to ask for accommodations because they don't want to be singled out. They don't want to seem like they're the odd one out. They don't want to be seen as needing extra help. They want to be seen as being as competent as everybody else. And there has been this notion, I think, especially with mental disabilities, that if you ask for help because of something, it means you're not as competent as everybody else. And it's like, no, I'm perfectly competent. I am 100% or even better than other people at this. However, I need shades on my office window so that I can pull that and I don't have to see people walking back and forth all the time. That's one thing that used to drive me absolutely bonkers in this one office that I had. You're looking, because the way the desk was, but peripheral vision, and if you're seeing people walk back and forth, thankfully nobody ever walked by my office, so it wasn't an issue for me. But if you constantly had that going on, I'd go batty. And with my job at the time, where I was just researching and writing all the time, that's all I did, that was my job, I would not be able to focus if I was constantly going, what was that? What was that? So it has absolutely nothing to do with your ability to do your job. It's just a small accommodation that needs to be made because of the way you need to be able to focus. It's nothing other than somebody who has a bad back who says, I need a specialized chair. I have to have a perfectly ergonomic chair. I can't take one of these ones that you guys just to put around here because of my back. I can do the job. I just can't sit in your crappy chairs. That has happened to me. And I got a very nice chair out of it, thankfully. I had to leave it there, though. Work wouldn't let me take it. That was a big bummer. And it's so unfortunate, Crystal. Crystal's had special accommodations because at work, but it's also the reason why she's been bullied so much. And that just kills me. It just kills me. And I think more people need empathy. I sincerely do. I bet if somebody could see through to these bullies, then I guarantee you that they are incredibly insecure themselves about something. Because it seems to me they are the ones that will go out of their way to bully other people that they feel are different because they feel insecure some way, whether it's insecure because of the job, because of how good you are, because it's just trauma in their past life. I mean, who knows? But definitely always seems to be the bullies are the most insecure ones. And so I encourage you to think about that, Crystal. Think about your bully being even more insecure. Or I shouldn't say, let me rephrase that. Think about the bully just think about him being insecure. And I bet you, in contrast, pump up your confidence. Because he's doing this because he's insecure about something. You be confident in yourself. You know from your boss that you're good at your job. You're missed. And you're going to be just as good when you go back. And customers like you. They like speaking to you. So I'm glad that they've got it worked out. So your hours aren't really going to connect with your bully. But if you do end up seeing that bully, I want you to stand tall and hold your head up and just steel yourself. That internal fortification, just imagine there's a steel rod right down your back and you can do nothing but stand up straight because you have nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing. He has everything to be ashamed of. And I guarantee you, he feels really awful inside and really ugly. That's my take on it anyway. Yeah, I hope you get this, hope you get all this treatment worked out, Crystal, so you can figure out what you do, what you don't have. I know that could be frustrating, just wondering, you know, always not knowing is the hardest part, isn't it? And I'm glad you're going to have somebody with you too. That's really important. Why is my scroller not working? Ah. Okay, let's see. Let's close the site down because I don't need it anymore. Let's go back over to here. So we have a couple of weeks, guys, before we're going to do our Fun Day Saturday. I know Fun Day Sunday sounds better, but it's so cliche. I don't know. Should we do our Fun Day Sunday on Saturdays during the live, or should we make it a separate Sunday? What do you guys think? The only reason I'd be moving it to a separate live would just because Fun Day Sunday sounds better. So if you can come up with a catchy name for me, I appreciate it. We need a good name for our Saturdays, our first Saturdays of the month. So if you have any jokes or memes or just, funny shorts or something you want to contribute to our Saturdays, where all we're going to do is laugh, hopefully. Shoot them to me at survivingtogethersass@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to include them. And I'll include you with a tagline that says, hey, this is a submission from so-and-so. If you want it to be anonymous, that's fine too. You can just let me know that and I'll just throw it up with everything else. But happy to include anything you guys find and that you guys think are funny as well. Let's see. Anything coming out of the universe? I did have been working some more on my true crime playlist on things that I want to do for there. There's another pedophile ring that I found that was taken down in the U.S. And this was from the 70s. And, that's really where a lot of my initial reporting is going to be starting, is going to be the 70s. So it seems to be, we know that pedophilia was not invented in the 70s. It just seems to be that that's when the organized rings were taking place, or at least that they were recognized on a bigger scale. Not to say that there hadn't been rings or, obviously individuals have been being arrested for decades. But I'm trying to find my oldest arrest where they knocked out a pedophile ring. I'm trying to find the oldest as to where they've done that. I haven't. 70s is the earliest I've gotten so far. So if anybody knows about one, and if they know the operation name, Operation Bluetooth or, whatever it is, if they just know that, if you guys want to shoot that to me, happy to look at it. The last one I was looking at was actually about NAMBLA, which is North American Man Man-Boy Love Association, which was very, very active in the 70s and 80s in trying to lower the age of consent among in the States, and was very active, very vocal. And they were not, this is the only reason I knew about them, because they were so vocal. I remember this in the 80s, and I was very shocked. And I was like, Mom, isn't it kind of illegal? And that's where I got my second dose of free speech is protected. My first was when I saw the Nazis marching, the neo-Nazi party marching. And I was very upset by it. And my mom had explained to me that it was free speech. And as long as they were being peaceful and just marching, that they could basically say most anything that they wanted. They can't say anything that's going to incite violence, obviously. But most everything else that they can shout on their little bullhorn is perfectly fine. So same with NAMBLA. They could shout from the rooftops that it's okay to love boys. What they couldn't do was organize trips or to tell you how to seduce a young boy. Anything that's going to be inching them, towards that line, which they did. They certainly had activities that they had a magazine that they published for quite a while. And the articles in there not only spoke about legal issues and the things that and morality and just the whole issue overall about man-boy love, but they did definitely have is to what I would consider how-to articles, and in regards to grooming. And it wasn't really looked at like it back then. But now when you read the articles, to me, I'm like, oh, well, this is just a how-to grooming guide. But that's not how it would have been seen. So bye, Janet. I'll talk to you later. Have a great day. And I hope you had a wonderful yesterday. Let's see. Crystal wants separate day for fun day. And Dad said either is fine. Okay. Well, we'll see if we get some more votes. And we'll see if we do it on October 5th, which is Saturday, I do believe, or October 6th, which is a Sunday. Georgie hadn't heard mention of NAMBLA for a long time. Yeah, that's because I listened to the guy. It was a podcast with the guy who infiltrated NAMBLA, and he ended up being in it for about 2 years, maybe, before they took certain members down. Not obviously. See, I get my words mixed up. I'm like saying them in different orders, and I think my brain's trying to go too fast. They didn't arrest everybody, but the people who they could prove, who they had on tape, admitting to crimes, admitting to certain things, and then they organized this trip. And the whole purpose of the trip was to go someplace. It was a BBB, a bed, breakfast, and boys. So the whole purpose of the trip was to go have boys. So everyone who left for that trip, because it was international, everyone who left for that trip could be arrested. Because when you travel with the intent of procuring a child for abuse, that is an offense. Because normally, if you're just traveling, you can't be caught. You can't be charged with any sort of assault because there isn't enough of what you consider an overt act. Yes, you're traveling there. Yes, you've made plans, but there hasn't been enough of a connection, enough of a nexus between the thoughts and the plans and the execution that is leading to that actual assault. Yes. I'll type it here so you see it, but this is the gentleman who had the interview. And it was an ex-FBI guy, and I can't imagine how hard it was for him, because not only was he in this, he was an undercover op in 2 other operations at the same time, which I can only imagine how crazy that gets, having to keep your backstory straight. But at least the other ones, you're playing a gangster, you're playing a drug runner, you're playing a whatever. Here, you have a totally different, frame of mind. Because it was just bonkers. It's so anathema to what this person had, obviously ever considered. So when he got asked at one of his first meetings, he's just like, so who's your favorite child actor? Basically, who do you think's cute? Who would you want to bang? Is what they're asking. And this guy's just like, and so he pulls Ricky Schroeder out of the hat because he heard somebody else mention it. Good choice. Ricky Schroeder, Silver Spoons, 1980s sitcom. Very cute kid. Very cute kid. So solid choice. But that first conference, I think it was a conference that he went to, the very first conference that they went to. The first thing that they did when they gathered, because they couldn't go straight to the conference, it's this whole involved thing. But anyway, they ended up at the Toys R Us in New York City. I think that's where they were. New York or LA, I can't remember where they were, but so they all took a trip, all 18, 20, 30 men of them or whatever, to the Toys R Us store to go ogle at all the children. Bit weird. If you saw just a whole group of men come in and aren't shopping, but are just like walking around looking at kids, I don't know, that's just pretty weird. So, Jadri, this is the name. This is the person's name. Like Surviving Together is my channel. His is Camp Gagnon. He's been doing a lot more videos recently. And it's one of his more recent ones. Like, it may be the most recent one that he's done. So if you pull him up, I'm sure you'll find it. I was actually listening to a few other ones that he's done this morning, just in terms of explaining different subjects and whatnot. So a lot of CIA, weird things. He did a thing on reincarnation. Had a couple friends, one who believed, one didn't, arguing back and forth about it. I can't decide if I really like his stuff or not, but at least the NAMBLA one was very interesting. It's a little long, so definitely either take it in chunks or listen when you've got time for it. Because part of what I was doing when I was putting that together, when I was looking at the NAMBLA thing, is at the same time, what was happening is there was a group, and I forget its name, I have to get it again, in the UK, who was doing the same thing. They were advocating for the age of consent to be brought down. And they were very, very vocal about it for quite a long time. And then their voice, kind of died out as well. And I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if it was similar to NAMBLA, where somebody infiltrated them and they got basically disbanded because of that. Honest is, I don't know if NAMBLA still exists as an organization today. That would be really interesting to find out. Hang on, I got to find out right now. it's considered largely defunct, but a handful of members remaining. So that must mean that the handful of members are keeping it going. Oh, so IPSE, I'm just gonna, because it's IPCE, International Pedophile and Child Emancipation Group. NAMBLA was the largest group within the IPSE, International Pro-Pedophile Activist Organization. So this must be what the UK thing was part of. So I wonder if this one is still in existence. It is. They have a website. I don't want to go, but they do. They do have a website. Well, that's definitely something I need to look into then. They're just called IPSE right now. They dropped International Pedophile and Child Emancipation. They dropped what the IPSE means, and so they think just calling themselves IPSE makes them better. I guess if you don't actually mention the words, it sounds better. But they do put out a newsletter. Eesh. Scary. Scary, guys. Oh, yeah. Secret ways for them to keep in touch. I mean, yeah. This will be interesting. Because like I said, it's not the pedophiles that I'm focused on so much. It's the victims. It's the pedophiles' victims. What I'm interested in about the groups are we know how they're allowed to exist. But the education that can come along, the educational opportunities, I should say, that come along with having an organization like that exist are immense. I haven't done the research. I was a kid in the 80s. So I don't remember if there were huge protests against. I know there were protests against NAMBLA, but I don't know to the degree. You can bet your bottom dollar that if NAMBLA, were to resurface today or was to, walk down the street and try and have a little march or whatever, that there would be huge protests. People would be absolutely in uproars. But mainly also because information's so easily gotten today. Somebody takes a video of it and boom, that's viral, and those people are skewered. I would have a hard time being an open member of one of these organizations in the current climate that we live in. And good. I know that there are people called MAPS, the minor attracted persons. And the purpose of MAPS, and we are going to discuss them at one time. And I know that there's difference of opinion on these and how people view these people. There are people, though, who are dedicated to never touching a child. They recognize that their attraction is not normal. Okay. And I put that in quotes because we all talk about what's normal and what's abnormal. Everybody, there's a spectrum, right? Well, there's certain things that we've accepted as being okay and not okay. And touching kids is one of those. It's just not okay. Recognizing that he's attracted to them. Like I listened to a couple of different interviews with some MAPS, and they're like, listen, I don't know how I got this way. I just know that I am. And I know that I desperately don't ever want to act on it. And so, they're in therapy and they take medication and they do everything they possibly can so that they don't act on it. And I have to give respect to those guys. And in listening to some psychologists around this, that whereas in some cases they can say, okay, the reason this person is attracted to children is because something happened in their childhood that conflated some issues, and this is what ended up happening. Okay. Just like somebody can be sexually attracted to shoes or feet. Something happened within their formative years, and this was the result of it. There's others, though, that there's nothing that they can figure out. There was no ongoing abuse themselves. They weren't into pornography. There's nothing that they could point to that says, this is why I'm attracted to kids versus this is why I'm attracted to peers. Because it was always kids. It was never their peers. It always had to be a kid younger. So even when they were kids, these people remember being, even 11, 12, 13, when they're kind of figuring out about sexuality and figuring out about being attracted to people. And they're realizing their attractiveness is to their 7-year-old cousin. It's not to their, their classmate. So I don't, I've spoken with some people who just think these people are the dregs of society. And the ones who act on it, I agree. I have absolutely no sympathy for them. None. The only ones that I can have a little bit of sympathy for are these MAPs, the ones who have committed themselves, the ones who have recognized it and said, this is wrong, and I'm not doing this. I can't ever do this. Or there is a small population, and I mean minuscule population, who have been caught and have asked for treatment. They've asked to be castrated. They've asked for medication to reduce any sort of libido. They've asked for intensive therapy because they don't want to like kids, but this is what they're stuck with. And they did end up acting on it. Do I have very burning, hard feelings for them because of them acting? Absolutely. Is there an ooch of sympathy that I can garner up for them when they try and do everything in their power not to reoffend? Yeah, I can. And that's where you have to wonder, Crystal, does DNA come into it? We said for a while that sexuality in general is on this spectrum, right? And you've got anywhere from 100% homosexual to 100% heterosexual. And then you've got everybody who fits in between, right? Where does that leave people attracted to kids? It's not a hetero versus homosexuality issue. But then again, you've got people who identify as pan and just say, I'm attracted to what I'm attracted to. Male, female doesn't make a difference. I'm attracted to, the person and overall and how they are. And that's just, then I'm attracted to that person. Well, if that's the case, then I think on the sexuality spectrum, don't they fit into the bi category then as well? If they're saying they, no, because they're not, okay, I'm not even going to get into that whole issue. Crystal, I certainly know you're right. They cross the line, they're an abuser. Absolutely. Absolutely. But as a human being, I can garner a little sympathy in my heart. And I said, that's a little sympathy. Little sympathy. Does it excuse anything that they've done? Does it mean I want them to be my friend? No. But I can garner sympathy for the fact that somebody is feeling like they have absolutely no control over a piece of their life. Something as simple as who they're attracted to. It's that piece. It's not the acting on it that I have any sympathy for. I don't. But I certainly can garner a little sympathy for them if they recognize that it was wrong and doing everything in their power to try and not reoffend. I can have a little sympathy for them for the fact that it seems to be a nature issue versus a nurture issue. It's interesting that you say this, Crystal. And I haven't listened to a whole bunch, and maybe I need to listen to a lot more. For at least the minor attracted persons that I've spoken to, I think on the whole, abuse, it is about control. I think there can be a difference in terms of some people offending pie. Yes, there you go. Hi, Flixflox. Thank you so much for filling me in on that. I knew the IPSY. I was like, acronyms, but no, it's not that. You're right. You're right. Pie. It was a headmaster. Okay, so Flix is telling us because she's in UK, and so Pie was the group in the UK. A headmaster who infiltrated the group and handed the dossier over to Scotland Yard. So yes, that definitely will be the group that I will be discussing at some point. Crystal, I know what you're saying, and I know what I want to say in my head, but I can't get the words out to sound right. So going to have to address that at a later date. 100%. This is true. You know, a lot of pedos convince themselves that they're not hurting the kids. They are in deep denial. Absolutely. And even the ones who say, but I love them. And that was this whole NAMBLA thing, right? I love them. We love each other. There's nothing wrong with our love. And a way of showing our love is through physical activity. 100% complete denial. The maps that I've listened to who have been, I won't say, compelled's the wrong word. I think that they've gotten to a place where they feel powerless to say no anymore. Because we are sexual beings. And so to constantly deny your sexuality, think of somebody who's gay. When being gay, if that came out, your life was over. If not literally, figuratively. And trying to deny themselves that and trying to live a straight life. And the ones who, I say straight life by just not engaging. All right. They didn't engage in straight sex either, but they tried just to toe the line and said, I'm going to be celibate then. But because we are such sexual beings, that can be very, very difficult. Why do you think celibacy this is where I think we could have a whole show talking about abuse being control and how does that come about? And I think you look at the priest situation, and what I gotta wonder is if these people had been put in any other circumstance, or if marriage had been an option, if celibacy was a non-option, let's put it that way, would they have still chosen kids? Because I don't know. There are plenty of priests out there who never abuse kids. 100%. Are they keeping their celibacy vows? I don't know. But it's been a question for a while. And another very fascinating circumstance, and I'm very interested in, is if we were to go to each of these priests, would we find that they are all true pedophiles? They whether they were there or whether they were out in the world, as an accountant, they'd be abusing kids. Because that's who they are. That's what they're attracted to. That's what they're going to do. I don't know. I'm fascinated to find out, though. I really am fascinated. It'd just be really, really interesting. Oh, yeah. For no doubt, I do not disagree with anything you have to say, Crystal, in regards to people convincing themselves that it's consensual, that it's love, that the kid's not harmed. Deirdre, if you listen to the podcast, give yourself grace. I never had to shut it off. It's not that graphic. He doesn't go into big details about what these kids had to say or anything. You'll be fine. You give yourself grace, but you should be fine with that particular podcast, the NAMBLA podcast. It was a different one that I was listening to, and I don't remember if it was about NAMBLA or Pi. But they were discussing what they believed in, and how they felt kids could consent, and how young could a kid consent. And seriously, I was listening to the whole thing like, how are you saying that with a straight face? Because what you are saying makes absolutely zero sense. Zero. You are throwing out every other scientific thing we know about kids in order to have your way of seeing things fit. I don't know. It'll be very interesting. Oh my gosh. Dear Audrey, I am so sorry. Your friend did his PhD in psych on internet chat rooms and support groups for pedos, so he infiltrated the online communities. It broke him. He has PTSD, and I don't know if he'll ever be okay. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I think the only reason this guy seems like he's still somewhat put together is when you listen to him talk, he did more listening than talking. He really got a lot of advice from people. And I think it helped that the members of NAMBLA at that time were, for the most part, extremely paranoid because they had been infiltrated before. And so they were extremely paranoid about, even at their meetings, about talking about anything specific. Obviously, some people did, and that's how they were able to get them and get them on the hook. But it wasn't the official meeting part. It was during the breaks when people started talking kind of, casually to each other that this stuff started coming out. So it wasn't it wasn't what they were talking about as their presentations or anything. And so he got to listen more than anything else, and could just regurgitate back what people were saying, or just, yep, I 100% agree. And, kind of skate around offering details about himself, about his particular likes, certainly about anything he had done in the past. But he did say 100% it was the most challenging role he'd ever taken, because it was something that was just so different from the way his brain was wired. I mean, being a cold, calculating killer, that's different as well. But of the FBI agents who I've known of who have gone on to do those sorts of things, I don't know, it's just so different from infiltrating groups that are basically based on violence than infiltrating groups where you're just trying to get intel out of them and having to play along with and be one of them. As violence, I mean, obviously it puts in precarious positions if somebody wants you to kill someone to prove your loyalty or something like that. But you're right. FBI agents are cut from a different cloth. Particularly, I'm going to rephrase that and even say undercover cops, undercover agents. Anybody who goes undercover like that, especially deep undercover, if you can come out and live any sort of a normal life, God, more power to you. I don't know how you could. I honestly don't know how you could. Even if, let's say, it was, the mob and you were deep undercover for 18 months, I still don't know how you come out of that and just function as if you'd never done it. It's just gotta be so weird. Jim Clemente is an ex-FBI agent who brought down his own abuser. He's very vocal and outspoken about abuse. Awesome. Good for him. Because that is not... I wonder if anybody knew while he was in the FBI that he had been abused. Because that is not... that's still... As much as you want to say, okay, they accept men and women, it's still a boys' game in terms of the level of mental toughness and acceptability of certain things. It's it's still very much a boys' game in regards to that. Not to say that somebody who's openly gay would not be accepted, but any types of vulnerabilities, all those things, you leave those at the door. So I'd be interested in, and I can't even remember. Hang on, guys. I want to look this up real quick because at least I've got it on my phone. Hopefully I can make my phone be silent so you guys don't have to see it. But let's see. Okay. All right. Yes, this guy's name is Bob Hamer, Hamer. He's the one with the NAMBLA people. Just want to make sure. Jill Clementi sounds so familiar, but then again, I think maybe it's not. You think it's part of the reason cops drink too much? Bad coping skill, if there ever was one. Alcoholism, alcohol and drug use is the number one thing that brings down lawyers too, actually. It's the stress of private practice of the jobs and the types of cases that people take. So for certain segments of the law, for certain segments of the bar, they're at the bar quite often or drinking at home. So yeah, bad coping skills, yeah, definitely. Cops and drinking. Yes, you're right. You're right, Flick. Pi, in addition to advocating for lowering the age of consent, one of the reasons that they were doing that is they felt it was a sexual liberation of the children, that children are sexual beings as well, and that they are going along with the whole, they can decide, children can consent, that whole thing. Oh boy. Just, I think that's why it's good that they have people who, like in cyber crimes, especially if you're dealing with kiddie crimes, that they rotate people out, because the burnout and the PTSD from that type of work on any sort of long-term basis, it's going to screw you up. You can't look at that crap day in and day out and not have it affect you, unless your compartmentalization are steel traps. And even then, I say it's still leaking out. You just don't realize it. Oh, thank you, DeAudrey. I would be very much interested in finding out more about Jim's story. That would be very interesting. All right, guys. Well, it's a little after 5. We've been at this for a couple hours now. I've been sinking lower in my chair, as you can see from my chin level down the thing. So I've been getting more and more comfortable. So I think that's about it for this week. So I think next week we'll start on something else. We'll kind of leave ADHD for a while. If anybody has anything that they want me to start getting into, or a topic that they want me to at least start researching, looking at. I'm sorry, I got something in my eye. It's looking all strange. Email me, survivingtogether@gmail.com. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. It's really appreciated. It helps the algorithm push this video out to more people, as well as do comments that you leave afterwards. If you guys ever want to get into a discussion or a fight with each other and comment back and forth, that'd be great, because the algorithm loves more comments. Check your subscription status if you haven't already. You definitely want to make sure that you've stayed subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed, why not? Doesn't hurt you. Doesn't cost anything. And all it does is help us. The more people that are subscribed, the faster we're going to get towards monetization, and maybe that can pay for my StreamYard fees. That would be nice. Oh, Flick, I'm so glad. I'm glad your ADHD brain got a little break from its normal thing. And yes, Crystal, we can chat. I will send you an email. Tomorrow is a better day than today. So definitely put that on the books, and I'll email you about that. But let's plan tomorrow. I tell you what, why don't you email me with any issues you might have about tomorrow? That would be great. All right, guys. That will do it for me for today. Share this with anybody you want. Tell them about it. I appreciate everybody who has shared Surviving Together. So many people still come and say, my friend told me about this, or that I only signed up because so-and-so said something about it. And it's so appreciative. We want to help as many people as we possibly can and allow them to have this wonderful, safe space to gather and connect and heal with all of us. I'm on the journey with you guys. And until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are valuable, you are strong because you are a survivor. Most of all, you're loved for who you are, just the way you are. So, hugs and love, guys. Till next time, we'll see ya. Bye.